Good morning. Today we will discuss about synchronous and asynchronous messages in sequence diagram. A synchronous message or procedure call is shown with a full arrowhead and is one that causes the invoking operation to suspend execution until the focus of control has been written to it. This is essentially a nested flow of control where the complete nested sequence of operations is completed before the calling operation resumes execution. This may be because the invoking operation requires data to be returned from the destination object before it can proceed. These are shown in the figure with procedure calls and explicit returns. Procedure calls are appropriate for the interaction since each operation that invokes another does so in order to obtain data and cannot continue until the data is supplied. While an asynchronous message drawn with an open arrowhead as in the figure does not cause the invoking operation to halt execution while it awaits a return. When an asynchronous message is sent, operations in both objects may carry out processing at the same time. Asynchronous messages are frequently used in real-time systems where operations in different objects must execute concurrently either for reasons of efficiency or because the system simulates real-world activities that also take place concurrently. It may be necessary for an operation that has been invoked asynchronously to notify the object that invoked it when it has terminated. This is done by explicitly sending a message known as callback to the originating object. Now we can add timing constraints also to the sequence diagram. A sequence diagram can be labeled to document time constraints in various ways. So labels can be added and time constraints can be shown for the execution of operation or the transmission of a message. A return value. A return value is a value that an operation returns to the object that invoked it. These are rarely shown on an analysis sequence diagram. The operation invoked by the message, for example, getName, would have returned a value of the client name and no parameters. In order to show the return value, the message could be shown as client name is equal to getName, where client name is a variable of type name. Focus of control. The focus of control indicates time during an activation when processing is taking place within that object. Parts of an activation that are not within the focus of control represent periods when, for example, an operation is waiting for a return from another object. The focus of control may be shown by shading those parts of an activation rectangle that correspond to active processing by an operation. A return is a control of return to the object that originated the message that began the activation. This is not a new message, but it is only the conclusion of the invocation of an operation. Returns are shown with a dashed arrow, but it is optional to show them at all since it can be assumed that control is returned to the originating object at the end of the activation in a destination object. The following is an example of all the notations we have discussed previously. So here a campaign manager, client, campaign, advert, all the objects, and the methods are associated where the object is the sending object and where the object which receives that message is the receiving object. So the corresponding messages which are identified as synchronous or asynchronous are added to the sequence diagram to make it a initial design diagram. The asynchronous and synchronous messages with the sequence diagram where we can add the timing constraints. The timing constraints are added as shown with the methods and the timing constraint. So here there are two objects, class A and class B, where the timing constraints are also added to show the time constraints, and these time constraints are written just by the side of the sequence diagram. So thank you very much.